Hello friends, and welcome to the world of harrowing stories. Today's episode is based on true, terrifying stories from the village. Perhaps you might say that the silence of a village is so peaceful, but my opinion is different. The silence of some villages is strange. It is as if something is suppressed, hidden, beneath that quietness. Something that doesn't openly appear, but instills a fear in your very veins. I have brought you 3 horrifying stories from the village. All 3 stories are not only from different villages, but are distinct from each other, and equally bizarre. However, before I begin the stories, I would like to tell you one thing. These stories are based on incidents that took place in villages, and therefore, upon the author's request, I will be narrating the stories to you using changed names for the places and the people who experienced these incidents. And in the end, please let me know in the comments which of these stories you like the most. Let's begin with the first story. Story 1. The swallowing well. My name is VJ. I didn't hear this story from somewhere. I experienced it myself. I cannot tell you which district that village is in, but it is located in the very lower part of a famous city. The village name is Nimbawati. The village is small, old, and mysterious. This small village is spread out amidst mountains and fields on all sides. When I first started my job, I had to visit Nimbawati for company work. At that time, I had no idea that I would witness a terrifying incident in that village. In those days, I was living in a bachelor's room in Pune, about 4 to 5 years ago. I was working for a builder's company, and during that time, it was decided that I would go to Nimbawati for a day. For marketing, the village was small, but land plots were being developed there. I thought to myself, I will get the work done and also explore the village a little. The company had set up a small office at that site. There was also a shop nearby. After finishing my work, I went to that shop in the evening for tea. That is where I met a girl working at the shop. Her name was Serbi. She was a resident of that village, soft-spoken but quick in her work. Over time, my visits there increased due to office work. I became friends with Serbi too. We often sat at the shop and chatted. With time, Serbi began to open up, and one day she told me something that still makes my soul tremble when I remember it. Serbi's account: "Brother, do you know there is a well on the backside of our village? But the villagers are very afraid of that well." I laughed at her words. Villages have wells. What is there to be afraid of? No, this well is not ordinary. The villagers call it the swallowing well. Seeing the seriousness on Serbi's face, I fell silent. I didn't say anything, but a strange curiosity rose in my heart. The atmosphere of that village was also strange. Everything was normal during the day, but as soon as evening fell, the streets would become deserted. Children were nowhere to be seen outside, and most people would lock their doors. An unknown terror pervaded the entire village. That evening, Serbi began to talk about some things from her childhood, and then I understood how deep the darkness was hidden beneath the silence of that village. When I was in the 6th grade, a shadow of fear fell over the village that year. 5 people died within a single month. 1 woman, 2 girls, and 2 boys. All of them jumped into that well and took their own lives. Serbi was telling me, and I was watching her intently. Nobody understood what was happening. People were dying one after the other. The police came. An investigation took place. Some said they had gone to bathe and drowned. Others said some of them committed suicide. But the villagers knew that the real matter was something else. Everyone thought there was something in that well that pulled people towards it, pulling them into the water. Hearing this from Serbi, I got a little scared. I asked her, "Then why do people go near that well at all?" Serbi paused and then looked at my face and said, "I don't know, but I think there's something in that well that hypnotizes people, and once someone goes there, they either never come back, or if they do, they are not the same as before." Serbi's eyes were moist. Still, she recounted an incident that makes my soul tremble. Even today, when I think about it, a poor family lived in our neighborhood. Husband, wife, and 2 children. The couple worked as laborers in others' fields. They had 2 children. The elder sister was about 9 to 10 years old, and the younger brother was about 5 to 6 years old. A simple, poor, but very lovely family. The parents worked in the fields all day, and the 2 children stayed at home. They had only one job. They played all day long. One afternoon, the 2 children were playing with the other village children, and while playing, the girl's ball went far away somewhere. She didn't know which direction it was going because her ball went straight toward the well. Hearing this, a strange chill ran down my stomach. The little boy went to retrieve the ball. His sister saw him running toward the well, and seeing that, she ran after him too. And she saw her brother standing at the edge of the well, staring intently into the water inside, as if someone was calling him. His sister ran and pulled him back hard. Then she didn't have the courage to stay there. She shouted at her brother and took him home. But after that, the boy changed completely. Serby was silent for a few moments, and then she began to continue. The boy suddenly became silent. He never spoke. If someone asked him something, he wouldn't answer. He didn't like it if someone even touched him. A strange coldness had come into his eyes. His voice also became heavy, like an adult's. His parents first took him to a doctor, but nothing changed. But one night, a very strange thing happened. Everyone was sleeping at night. Both parents were tired. The children were also quiet. But in the middle of the night, the door rattled. The mother's eye opened. She saw a shadow standing near the door, first large and then small. How was that possible? Yes, what had happened? Serby was quiet for a while. Fear was clearly visible on her face. Her voice was trembling, but still, she kept talking. The boy's mother got up. She went towards the door. She saw that her younger son was standing there. She was about to run and catch him when suddenly she heard her own son's voice from behind. "Mom, Mom." She turned around. She found that her son was lying right next to her on the bed, and his eyes were closed, as if he was mumbling in his sleep. Seeing that, the mother's mind went numb. She turned back towards the door, but no one was there then, and at that moment, she heard a strange laughing sound from outside the door. Her entire body trembled. After she fearfully returned and lay back down on the bed, Serby's voice was now quieter, but deeper, as if the memories of that moment were floating before her eyes. After that day, the life of that family changed. The child became stranger day by day. He always sat silently in some dark corner of the house. Heavy voice, red eyes. He wouldn't eat or drink anything and wouldn't go out to play. And then one day, it happened that he didn't eat at all. His mother served him food, but he sat silently in the corner. Then his mother went near him. She began to stroke his head, and while stroking his head, she said, "Son, what happened to you? Why are you sitting so quietly? You don't even talk to anyone." His mother was still stroking his head then. Suddenly, the child grabbed her wrist tightly, so tightly that the mother screamed. The surprising thing was how such a small child could squeeze a hand with so much force. His grip was like an adult's. His mother shouted and tried to snatch her hand away. "What are you doing? Let go of my hand." He looked at his mother angrily. His eyes were shining red even in that darkness. His teeth were chattering like an animal's. He snatched his hand away from his mother with a jerk and angrily shouted at her, "May Angala Hothlavlatu. Mom, you touched my body. How dare you?" He said she had touched his body. How dare she? The mother couldn't understand anything. She got up from there in fear and went outside the house, and seeing that, his sister also ran out of the house. Neither of them understood what was happening there. Then his parents went to the villagers. They also went to the priest. They did all the remedies in the temple, but there was no effect. Serby was telling me the story, and I was completely lost in it. I wasn't paying attention to anything else. Then she continued, "That night, another strange incident happened, exactly like the first one. The sound of the door started coming at night. When the door rattled, his mother woke up. They saw that someone was trying to open the door, and a small shadow was standing there. The mother quickly woke up her husband, but in the meantime, she felt that the shadow belonged to her own son. She looked at the bed nearby, and her son was not in the bed. Both of them got up. They went near him. They turned on the light. His father pulled him away from the door, and then they started asking him, 'What are you doing?' And then the boy angrily turned his neck and said in a strange voice, 'Me Angala Hothlavlatu. Mom, you touched my body.' He had said in a strange voice that she had touched his body, and that voice belonged to a woman. Hearing his strange voice, his father got more scared and backed away in fear. They now understood that what had been happening to them for the last few days was no ordinary matter. The son was not talking properly, not eating, and now these actions. Just then, his sister also woke up. Finally, in panic, she told her parents that he had gone near the well. The parents were jolted as if by an electric current, and they understood everything. Something must have gone wrong with him after going near the well. That night, they somehow tied him up and made him sleep because he was completely out of control. He kept kicking and struggling. He was also hurting himself. He kept running towards the door as if he wanted to get out. Finally, they took him to a Sadhak spiritual practitioner. That man saw the child and clearly said after a while that there was something in this child. Maybe two souls, one of a woman and one of a man, who want to possess him. Hearing this, the child's parents got scared because all this started after he went near that well. The Sadhak gave them an ash balsam and said to apply this ash to him every day and never leave him alone, not even at home, and absolutely not outside. The mother then took 8 days off. She kept an eye on him all the time. She applied the ash to him every day and took care of him. And then slowly, he started becoming calmer. They felt that everything was getting better, but the red glow in his eyes and the fear in his speech were not going away. Finally, his mother thought that she would have to go back to work now. It was not possible to leave the labor work. The child's condition was improving, and the elder sister, who was 9 to 10 years old, was at home. They explained everything properly to her and gave her the responsibility of looking after and taking care of her brother. Serby paused for a moment, and then I asked, "Then what happened? Did he get better?" Serby took a deep breath. Asterisk that day, everything was normal. Both siblings were at home. He had the ash applied, and the sister was keeping an eye on him. But everything changed in an instant. Both were playing at home, and at that moment, they heard a truck horn from outside. A truck was passing by on the road in front, and while playing, his brother suddenly got up and ran towards the door. Before that little girl, that child, could understand anything, he opened the door and started running towards the road from the open field. His sister also ran after him, but by then, it was too late. The boy was standing at the edge of the road with the same red glow in his eyes. There was a strange, terrifying smile on his face, and a speeding truck was coming from the front. Serby's voice started trembling while telling this. That 5-year-old boy just turned and looked at his sister once and smiled lightly. His sister was shouting at him from afar. She was asking him to come back, but in the very next moment, the boy threw himself in front of the truck. The brakes were applied, but it was too late. The child was already under the vehicle on the road. All his blood was flowing everywhere. The sound was so loud that the people standing nearby started screaming, seeing the horrible, terrifying sight. But there was nothing left to do. Everything was over. Then people started saying that the well had taken another sacrifice. Some said that there was something in that well that possessed people's bodies and dominated their souls. The news reached the boy's parents. Both of them returned home crying and screaming. His sister was trembling, and there was only one thing on the faces of all the villagers, and that was fear. After saying this much, Serby fell silent, but that story started revolving in my mind. That night, I stayed in the village for some work, and after dinner, I went out for a little walk from my office. Then my attention went to that well far away, and I still remember. There was a slight smoke rising from there. Faint shadows were shaking. Maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe the shadows of the spirits wandering around that well. That well is still there. The same old, black, terrifying well. The village has grown bigger. It has changed. People come and go. New houses have also been built, but there is still a silence around that well. A silence that feels alive, as if something is breathing there, waiting. I was transferred, but this story, this memory, and the shadows of that well are still with me, because some places are like that. They don't leave a person, and some wells are not empty. There is something inside them whose stomach is never full. So friends, that was today's first story. Let's start the second story now. Asterisk the curse of the Soilthus incident I'm going to narrate to you today. I heard it in my childhood. People in our village still talk about it. Savard Village, surrounded by greenery, is situated in a corner of the Konkan region. The village is surrounded only by dense forest, mountains, and winding roads. It is a small village, but a rule has been running in that village for years. A rule that people still believe in, never to consume non-vegetarian food in the field. The elders used to call this rule the curse of the soil. But when the villagers mention this rule to city dwellers, they dismiss it as just a story passed down through generations, merely a superstition. However, the villagers knew that this was not a superstition. There were terrifying incidents behind it that had happened to some villagers. In this very Savard village, my uncle Gopal lived a few years ago. At that time, his family consisted of only 4 people: his parents, his older brother, and himself. They had a large field a little far from the village. Gopal was not very bright in his studies, but he was hardworking. He loved farming. When Gopal grew up a bit, he used to go to water the fields every day. Sometimes it would take him until midnight to return home, but he never stayed there overnight, as everyone in the village knew. He also knew that eating non-vegetarian food in the fields was strictly forbidden, and they said that if someone broke this rule, something would pursue them. Gopal had been hearing these stories since childhood, but he never believed these words. Still, he never broke the rule. But one day, morning came, and my uncle still hadn't returned home. His family thought that perhaps he had fallen asleep in the field hut, but when they looked in the morning, Gopal was nowhere to be seen. Everyone started worrying because my uncle was not old enough to spend the night outside then. My uncle's mother became very scared. She told his father and older brother to immediately go and check the field. At that time, there were no mobile phones or anything. His father and brother quickly reached the field. They found my uncle lying unconscious near the hut. Panicked, they tried to wake him up, but he was not moving. Other people from the village were called. With great difficulty, they put my uncle in a car and took him to the hospital. Shortly after treatment, my uncle regained consciousness. The doctor told him to go home, but even after returning home, my uncle wouldn't talk about anything. Fear was clearly visible on his face. Then his father sent everyone out and sat down opposite my uncle. He affectionately asked, "Gopal, didn't I tell you never to make such a mistake? But you did it anyway." My uncle was a little surprised and said, "What mistake, father?" Upon this, his father spoke in a sterner voice, "When we came to see you, everyone was standing around, and at that moment, my attention went to the hut. There were bones and leftover food lying on the ground, and that's when I understood what had happened." Hearing his words, my uncle remembered that night. That night, there was excitement in the village. It was my uncle Gopal's friend Rohit's birthday. The village didn't have a large population. Everyone knew each other. Rohit lived in the city, but had come to the village for a holiday during those days. He told Gopal that he wanted to celebrate his birthday with great enthusiasm. So, they decided to have a party in the field outside the village. They planned to arrange everything, like chicken and mutton dishes. Gopal initially refused and clearly stated that consuming non-vegetarian food in the fields was forbidden. If his family found out, they wouldn't let him enter the house. But Rohit and the other friends insisted a lot. After much refusal, Gopal finally agreed. All the friends reached his field. A table was set up near the hut, and the party began. Everyone was very hungry. Delicious food was ready. Initially, Gopal tried to avoid eating, but his friends pressured him so much that he also had a little alcohol and ate just a bites of bread. But he had no idea what was going to happen next. All his friends left, but my uncle stayed there because if he went home, his family might find out and get very angry with him. So, in the dark, he buried all the bones and leftovers in a pit right there and slept in the hut. But at night, he suddenly woke up to a strange noise. A pitch-black sky, trees rustling softly in the distance with the wind. Faint sounds of dogs barking were coming, but that night was different. It was a disturbing night. There was a strange chill in the air. No one was visible around, but there was definitely something there. Suddenly, a faint but strange sound reached his ears, an indistinct, terrifying sound. At first, he thought someone was crying, but it was not the sound of human crying. It was a sound from another world, stuck between an animal and a ghost. Gopal sat up. He began to look out from the hut, but there was nothing in front of him. The night's coldness had entered the hut. The same sound came again, this time a little louder, a little clearer, like weeping, heavy breathing, and faint sobs. Gopal's heart began to pound rapidly, but he reassured himself. Maybe it's a person or an animal. As soon as he stepped out of the hut, he suddenly felt something wet and sticky on the ground. He looked down carefully. There was a red layer on the soil, like someone's blood, but it wasn't fresh. It had darkened slightly, and seeing this, a shiver ran through his body. Just then, my uncle's gaze fixed on something ahead. On the field's dirt path, he saw something being dragged, moving by creeping, far away. My uncle moved a little further away from the hut's door and looked carefully, and the blood in his body froze. Far away, a large thing, lipping, crawling, and sobbing, was coming towards them. My uncle rubbed his eyes and looked again. The thing had come a little closer, and at that moment, he understood that this was no ordinary thing. That shadow was extremely bizarre. It had no hair on its entire body, as if its skin was peeled off. Red, golden-colored skin, but with tangled hair on its head. Its body was limping, and with every movement, a strange creaking sound was coming, as if its bones were grinding. Gopal backed away a little. His feet were trembling, but he didn't dare to run. He was frozen there. That thing was slowly approaching him and was now clearly visible. There were no human eyes on its face, deep, black, as if there was only darkness in them and a terrifying spectacle of death. My uncle was petrified, staring at that strange thing when it came about 5 to 6 meters away. The thing suddenly stopped and tried to smile strangely while looking into my uncle's eyes. But that smile was not human. It wasn't a smile at all. It was a silent sign, as if to say, "You have broken the rule, and now you will face the consequences." A cold and putrid stench was coming from that strange creature, a combined smell of blood, soil, and decay. The odor was so intense that Gopal started suffocating. His heart rate sped up in his chest, and he felt a sharp pain in his stomach, as if something was moving inside him. That animal raised its long fingers. Not fingers, they were bones. A skeleton of human bones, covered in putrid, wet layers of flesh. Something like mud was dripping from them. And that hand began to reach out towards Gopal. And now he understood that if he didn't run, this would be his last moment. But his body wouldn't move. Not even a sound came from his mouth. There was only the rapid pounding of his heart, a loud ringing in his ears, and that shadow of death coming from the front. The thing came right next to him. For a moment, my uncle thought it was all an illusion. But just then, the face of the creature standing in front of him began to twist and warp. Its eyes turned white. Its mouth seemed to rip open, and a rotten tongue came out from inside. Just at that moment, my uncle felt as if someone had violently pushed him. My uncle fell to the ground and passed out right there. When he regained consciousness, he was in the hospital. That night, his father had sent everyone out of the house and sat silently next to Gopal. And then he told him, "Look, son, there's something in the field outside the village, and everyone knows this. You were lucky to have escaped, but don't make such a mistake again." My uncle was so scared that day that he didn't leave the house for days afterward. He also knew well that what he saw that night was no ordinary thing. It was not human, and after that incident, my uncle never stepped foot in the field again. A few years later, he left the village and went to the city for work, but he never turned towards the field again. He still feels that he only survived that night by sheer luck, but he is still afraid to go to the field. He still feels that whatever that thing was, it is buried somewhere beneath the soil and is looking for a way to come out again. So friends, this was the second story. Let's begin the third story now, asterisk, The Cursed Shadow, and conclusion story 3. The Cursed Shadow story I am about to tell you is a terrifying event that took place at my friend's house in Maharashtra. There are still many villages where the chaos of the cities has not reached. Godepada is one such village, surrounded by lush greenery and sugarcane fields and hidden among the hills. It is a completely silent area. My childhood friend, Rahul Mukni, lives in this village. Rahul's house was the biggest and wealthiest house in the village. His father, Shivaji Mukni, was one of the village's biggest farmers. They had large fields, a poultry farm, an ox cart, money, and respect. They had everything. Rahul's mother was named Manula. I used to call her Yenj, a term of respect for an elder sister. And she was a very innocent, hardworking woman who fully supported her husband in the farm work. The greatest features of Godepada were its air, soil, and fields. Everything was going well at Rahul's house. But suddenly, a strange incident occurred, and the whole family faced a bizarre problem. One Sunday evening, Rahul called me. "Brother, my mother's condition is very bad. We don't understand what's happening. We showed her to the doctor, but it's not helping. Can you come to the village?" His voice was filled with fear. I asked him, "Tell me, what is happening to her?" He just said, "You'll see for yourself when you come." I had some knowledge of Vasta Shastra, traditional Hindu system of architecture, and perhaps that is why he thought I could help. The next day, I drove to his village. As soon as I stepped into the house, I felt the atmosphere was very heavy. It was as if a bad shadow lingered in that house. A strange darkness had spread everywhere. Manula Yenj was lying in bed. Her face was completely jaundiced. There was no life in her eyes, and her entire body had strange itching marks and spots. She scratched so much that in some places, her skin had peeled off. As soon as I sat in her room, A strange, putrid smell, like that of a decaying corpse, began to emanate. She couldn't tolerate light, which is why thick curtains were drawn over the windows. I looked at Rahul then. His eyes were also swollen. Neighbors were coming to the house and inquiring about the situation, but no one had an answer. Rahul then told me that everything had started with just a cold. We initially thought it was something simple. We showed her to the village doctor. He gave medicine, but a few days later, my mother's body started itching. At first, we thought it was an allergy from a poisonous plant or an animal in the field, but slowly, her skin started peeling off. We became more scared. Then we took her to a big hospital. We did many tests. The doctors there said it was a rare skin disease, but even they didn't know what it was. After some treatment, her condition improved a little, so we came back to the village. But the very next day after returning to the village, everything started again. Fever, fatigue, and terrible itching on the body, and then those red spots and her skin melting. Now, we don't know what to do. People in the village say that because our house is so wealthy, we have been struck by the evil eye. Someone has used black magic. Rahul was telling me everything, but I had no answer to his questions. Because among the things I knew in Vasta Shastra, I didn't know anything about black magic and sorcery. I explained the situation to him, but he still insisted that I stay at his house. Rahul's father was also very worried now. They were searching day and night for the reason behind this illness, and Rahul was taking care of his mother at home. Meanwhile, Takya Mukni, one of the village elders, pulled Shivaji Mukni aside and said, "Look, brother, I don't want to name anyone, but there is something strange about this matter. I have spent my whole life in this village and have seen many such incidents. I think some people can't stand the prosperity of your house. Believe me, someone has definitely performed black magic on your house." Shivaji Mukni listened to his words and sank into thought. Then Takya spoke directly, "Look, whatever you are going to do it quickly, or your wife will be lost. If you want, call someone from outside who knows about this work." Now, Shivaji Mukni decided to do whatever was necessary quickly. Until now, they were only looking for a cure, but now they focused on finding out who had done what to their house. The next day, Rahul's father and I went to the nearby Hanumani village. An experienced Oya, witch doctor, healer lived there. His name was Bala Jadhav. Bala Jadhav looked like a completely ordinary person on the outside, but people from distant places would come to him with their problems. Everyone said that he had a certain power in his hands. He could feel evil forces. Shivaji Mukni narrated the entire story to him. Bala Jadhav pondered for a while. Then he closed his eyes and tried to sense something. And finally, shaking his head negatively, he said, "I can't sense anything right now. I think I need to go and see your house, then something might become clear." Then Shivaji Mukni pleaded with folded hands, "Whatever you are going to do it quickly or my wife will die." And the next day, Bala Jadhav went to their house. He had a small bag in his hand. Inside it was a coconut, small black incense balls, and something like a strange medicine. As soon as he entered the house, he drew a circle. By circle, I mean he walked around the entire house. He didn't break the coconut. He just walked around with it. He checked the courtyard and every corner of the house, but he couldn't feel anything there. Then Bala Jadhav said, "I feel some strangeness in the house, but I am not getting a clear sign." Just then, Rahul spoke up. "There's an old bathroom behind the house. No one uses it anymore. It's just standing there." And as soon as Bala Jadhav reached that spot, his face tightened. He put the coconut down on the ground there, and the coconut began to shake by itself. Then he placed the black incense balls there, and the incense suddenly caught fire. And then he looked at us and said, "Whatever is pursuing you, it is right here. Get enough from there." Bala Jadhav told Shivaji Mukni, "Call to laborers. We will have to dig this place." Soon after, Shivaji Mukni called the laborers from the village, and the digging of that place began. In the beginning, only stones and soil came out, then wet soil, and finally, a large plastic ball was found. Bala Jadhav pulled that ball out. He placed it nearby and opened it to look inside. Inside, there was a white cloth doll, voodoo doll wrapped in black cloth, completely tangled with hair. Small needles were stuck all over the doll's body. There was black sindoor, traditional Hindu vermilion, on its forehead. Next to it was a rotten lemon and some ash, and a strange, rotten smell was coming from all of it. Seeing this, everyone's hair stood on end. I was shocked too. While lifting the doll with a wooden stick, Bala Jadhav said, "As this doll decays, your wife's body is also decaying in the same way." Finally, the doll was taken out and placed far away from the house in a desolate spot. Soon after, the atmosphere of the house lightened a little, but fear and concern were clearly visible on everyone's faces. But now, due to this doll incident, Shivaji Mukhni was very angry. Many questions were revolving in his mind. Who could do such a thing? Who wanted evil upon them? And why were they being targeted? Bala Jadhav began to look at that doll deeply and then said, "This doll was probably not here before. Someone came one night within the last few months and buried it here. And this work can be done by a familiar person from the village, not an outsider." Hearing this, Shivaji Mukhni became very angry and spoke furiously. But who could it be? Bala Jadhav was silent for a while then, and after thinking a little, he said, "We cannot get the answer to this right away, but keep one thing in mind. Unless this doll is burned, you will not find peace. And if you want to find out who did this, you will have to be a little patient. I have some clues, but it would not be right to name anyone directly. But one thing is definite. The person who did this is one of your own relatives." Shivaji Mukhni listened to him silently. That night, Bala Jadhav began performing a ritual in a special place in the field behind the house. That ritual made all of our hair stand on end. It sent scented sticks, black threads, coconut, lemon, and some mantras. Something was there that night. The air of the village seemed to have stalled. The doll was placed in the middle of all of us and burned. And as it burned, a strange, putrid smell came out from inside. And the most terrifying thing was that as soon as the doll started burning, Manjula Yenja's body also began to convulse back at the house. She fell to the ground, writhing, and strange sounds were coming from her mouth at that moment. And we were all afraid that something would happen to Manjula Yenj. Finally, Bala Jadhav gave Manjula Yenj a black thread and the water that was next to him. And then he said, "This is the water of the Narmada River. Sprinkle it on your body and do not go out of the house for the next 3 days. Do not go anywhere. If anyone from outside gives you anything to eat, do not eat it. You must be very careful for the next 3 days." On the second day, the news spread in the village that a tantric black magic ritual had been performed at Mukhni's house. The spark of suspicion was now ignited in Shivaji Mukhni's mind. He had a big house, 2 brothers, a large family, farming, money, respect. He had everything, but tension had increased in the house over the past few years, especially his younger brother's wife, Rekha Yenj. Rekha Yenj could not stand the peace and prosperity of their house. She used to complain constantly, and fights would constantly break out in the house because of her. Suspicion had now settled in Shivaji Mukhni's heart, but he did not want to name anyone openly. Within 2 or 3 days, Manjula Yenja's condition began to improve a little. The purplish black spots on her body faded. The itching on her body also reduced, but the atmosphere of the house was still heavy. On the 3rd day, Bala Jadhav came to see Yenj again, and once again, looking at the atmosphere of the house, he said, "The shadow here, whatever evil was there, has been destroyed, but the effect still remains. Your relatives must have learned that the black magic on the house has been removed, and now they are trying to harm your house from afar. So tell me the truth. Do you suspect anyone?" Shivaji Mukhni was silent for a while then, but Rahul couldn't hold back. He spoke angrily, "I suspect my Aunt Rekha. Her behavior is strange. Her conversations are also strange. She always talks about rituals and prayers. Her words sting me. Whenever she comes to the house, she looks with strange eyes. And yes, until a few months ago, she used to come home every day, but now she suddenly stopped coming. I am absolutely sure she is the one who did all this." Bala Jadhav became a little serious and said, "Look, one thing is certain, an effect still remains here, and this work belongs to someone inside the house, and that person is jealous of you. But be careful, don't name anyone. Perhaps if the truth comes out, the consequences can be very dangerous." Finally, Shivaji Mukhni made a big decision and organized a meeting at home. The whole family, some leading elders of the village, everyone was called, and he narrated everything in front of everyone. I was also there that night. Shivaji Mukhni said with great seriousness, "What happened to my wife is not just an illness. This is the result of the hatred of someone close to us. I will not name anyone, but keep one thing in mind. I have not done wrong to anyone. If someone wishes evil upon me, I will not remain silent. And if something like this happens again, I will not leave that person alive. I will bury the entire clan alive. The whole house fell silent. No one was speaking, but guilt was clearly visible on some faces. The clever ones had understood everything, and after that night, everything that was happening at Mutton's house slowly stopped. And over the next few months, Manulienja's health slowly began to improve. And finally, after 3 months, she completely recovered. So friends, this was today's story. So friends, these were today's 3 terrifying stories. Be sure to let me know in the comments which of these you liked the most.